Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marcello Currents reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day, anti-cop all day. So yeah, this message is basically going to be about being independent from all communities in America. How it is not strange to be independent in these final days in America. To be independent from all the communities here in America. It's nothing strange about it in these times and days. And the main reason why is because everybody contradict themselves. Everybody. Everybody in most communities, major communities, contradict themselves. So so it's not strange for an individual to be independent from the culture and the subcultures of this community because it's just too many contradictions. You know what I mean? We already contradict ourselves as human beings, period. As human beings, period, we already contradict ourselves because we're flawed and we try to do our best, but in the end, we're imperfect. So we as we are you already have personal contradiction. You don't need collective contradiction on top of your own personal contradiction that you struggle with. You know what I mean? That's a mess, and that's why it's always been a mess. You know, I advise people to um, be independent, not a separatist, if you will, not a hostile person divided necessarily from the country. Independent. It's the same thing, ironically, that America did. They the so-called American settlers that came here to this country, they separated themselves from England, and it was a form of independence. That's why you have Independence Day, which is the 4th of July. Okay, so you're doing nothing different than what America did, except it's just now become it's biting them in the butt. Now the American energy has evolved to where now we're independent from this country, just as they were independent from England. I'm doing nothing differently than America, the forefathers of this country called America did when they separated themselves from England. Yep, that's a seven. That's the American energy. That's part of it is to separate and be independent from one's because of one's own perspective, beliefs, and visions for one's own life. That is part of the American spirit. Well, that's how these people came here. That's how they tell it. They tell it they came here to for independence. So for you to be independent of for you to go through the same thing when your country has become corrupt, I don't see how people who are true historians and educated about the history of this country, particularly, could have a beef or a smoke with you because it's the same nature of the forefathers that founded this country. They separated, they were independent from their own country that fed them, that clothed them, that fed and clothed their forefathers before them. They didn't look at none of that. They didn't think about none of that. They felt the need to be independent over everything, over the history that they had with England, over the history that they had as far as England taking care of their family and all of that. They still felt the need to be independent. That's a seven. Now I ain't one because I know I'm right about it. Hmm? I know I'm right about it. And when you begin to do that these days, they look at you as a traitor or the enemy. But they did. But the forefathers is their forefathers is how practice the same thing. That's how they got here, practicing independence. But they're looking at you like you a traitor. That's a seven. Well, that's how you got here. That's what I'm saying. Boom. If it wasn't for these settlers that felt the need to be independent mentally, as far as perspective, worldviews, even, I mean, in every way, religion, uh, then you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be even talking, we wouldn't even be talking about none of this, right? All because of independence. And in order for there to be a new birth concerning your country, there has to be another um, revolution of independence from what this country is. You think it's fixable? I don't think so. I think just like the American settlers, you have to come out of your country in order to survive. That's a 7. Now it's making sense to you? Because you almost called me a terrorist. You act like I'm some weirdo, strange guy, psycho guy. Now it makes sense to you, don't it? Uh-huh. Because if you knew your real history, you wouldn't have had no problems with it in the first place. If you was a true American, as you say you are, then you would have realized, hey, this man is kind of doing what we did. Well, he's separate from us. He's separate in perspective. He's separate in religion. His religious beliefs makes him separate from us. Because the way they tell it, I don't know how true it is, but the American settlers separated from England for religious freedom. See, I'm not ignorant to these things. Yeah, you thought I was ignorant. That's why I'm winning. Because I know a lot. I'm educated. Now, don't my situation make sense? Now, how these gang stalkers and secret society situation makes sense? That part. It makes sense to you. But what I just said make perfect sense, right? I'm separated from something I don't believe in. I'm separated as far as my perspectives and my faith in Christianity, my faith in God. It separates me from your country. Okay? Okay? Because in Christianity, you already know, I don't got to tell you this. Homosexuality and lesbianism is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Okay? It's not my perspective. It's the biblical perspective. Therefore, I have to be independent because of my faith. When you have 50 states that have gay marriage, okay? You also have 44 states that has child marriage. For those two reasons, as a Christian, I have to be separate from your country. And that's the same thing America did, the settlers did. They separated themselves from England. And therefore, that's why you even have what you call today in present day time America. That's why you got this going on over here. Why you trying to persecute me for doing the same thing, basically? See, it all makes sense. It all makes sense when your heart is in the right place. When your motives are right. This is what I've learned in life. When your motives are right and your motives are true, right? It all makes sense. It all makes sense when everything is really what you say it is, and it's good and it's correct. It will all add up. It will all fall in place. Somehow it will all work out. Now you understand. Because that's the same spirit of the American, is separation for the sake of independence, of spirituality, and overall perspective, and separation from the perspective of their government. That's what it is. That's the American spirit. It's separation from their government's perspective. They separate. They are independent from the perspective of their government, and they're independent for because of their relationship with God. That's exactly what America did. But yet these days, people are being persecuted for the same thing. That's a 7 out. See, looks like I won again. Because you can't tell me I'm wrong on that. That's absolutely right. See, you thought I was doing this for a gimmick. This is me, man. This is real life. This is real life here. This is real life here. Okay? This is what it's all about. Real men standing up for what they believe in. No matter what the cost may be. No matter what the oppression may be. No matter how big the multitude of the oppression may be. You stand on your own 2 feet. You stand up for what you believe in. Okay? And even in the middle of all I believe in and everything, physically, I'm not out here harming anyone. You see what I mean? But yet you would think I did. You would think so, right? You would think I'm the new Jesse James. If you ain't know any better. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, in the country you have crazy people pushing people on the train tracks here in New York City for no apparent reason. That part. One man pushed a woman that was actually, this guy was homeless. He pushed a woman on the train tracks that was helping the homeless people. She was helping the homeless people. He pushed her on the train tracks and killed that woman. That was vouchering for homeless people to be able to sleep in the subways in the wintertime because it's cold. And I've been one of those people that it's too cold. You gotta sleep in the subway at night. Or you gotta ride the train all night long. You take your pick. Sleep at a station where it's warm, or ride the train all night long. That's how you know somebody's lived in New York on the streets. Because that's what you gotta do. You can't be out there. You can't be out there in some nook and cranny out there in the cold and the snow. You can't be outside. You might die in your sleep from hypothermia. But you sleep, and when you wake up in heaven or hell. So, people don't go after the real bad guys anymore. It's whoever everybody labels as the bad guy. That's okay. It's the same spirit that America operated in. They separated from their country based on their relationship with God. I'm gonna put it like that, because that's really what it should be. I know that's what it is for me. And just separation of perspective from their government. The perspective of their government and their perspective could not be unified in essence. And they did something about it. And I'm just leaving it at that. Now, that wasn't wrong. But all the other history, you already know. But I'm looking at that part. Okay? To prove now to you that I'm doing nothing no differently than your American forefathers. Only difference between me and them is I'm still walking the good narrow road. That's the only difference. I separated as far as my relationship with God, separation from the perspective of the government that's marrying children in 44 states. I'm separate from that. See? You see what I'm saying? Now you see. That's how you know who elevates. Because you've become so elevated that you feel the need to be separate from your government, to be separate because of your relationship with God. You've elevated your relationship with God so much, you feel the need to be independent. That's how you know who's elevating. Not who's trying to bring everybody together in the culture. That's not going to work. Well, has it been working? That's the $1,000,000 question. When you want to know if something is working, you want to ask certain questions. Okay, is it working now? Has it been working? Okay, then we can't practice a form of insanity here now, can we? Well, if you're doing the same thing and it ain't working, then what that tells you? It's not working. It's simple, guys. You've been putting the same people in office. You got the same politicians that go around the merry-go-round, smiling at you as they circle around the merry-go-round. Every time they turn around and they get around to you, they give you a little smile while they're on the merry-go-round. But nothing's getting done. Nothing's getting done. And how long are you going to sit there for all you, especially street wise people, all the people with street wisdom? You. All the street wise people. How long you going to let people do the same thing and sit up talking about, yeah, we going to vote for this person. We going to put that person in there. And you think you choosing between the lesser evils. They both evil. I understand you trying to get the witch instead of the devil, which means the lesser evil, right? The only problem with that is nothing is working. None of it is working for you. It may be working for them. They're getting paid. They're living successful. They're living the dream. They're living high on the hog. How about you, though? Did you know that everybody in this country cannot work at the same time? That's a 7. Yeah, I got a video on it, too. Everybody in this country cannot work, labor, have a job, be employed by an employer at the same time. All 333 million of these Americans, that's the population, 333 million plus, they all can't work at the same time. Nope. So what does that mean? What does that mean to guys, people like me and you? What does that mean? It's an illusion to me. If everybody can't work, what are we doing? No, seriously though. No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm like, listen. I'm saying that, okay, literally everybody probably wouldn't work or wouldn't be capable of working, but the opportunity for everybody to be employed for the most part is not there. And therefore, we're all, what is our real vision, therefore? Or is our real vision even real? Now I'm saying, like, because people are, I'm a realist. That's why I talk the way I do. See, you can't claim, it sounds cool to call yourself a realist. Everybody would, if I said, are you a realist? No one's going to say no, right? There's no person that's going to say, well, no, I'm not a realist, actually. Actually, I'm not. I like fantasy worlds. Every once in a while, you might get a weirdo like that. But for the most part, most of us like to esteem ourselves as having a grip on reality and being real, right? Being able to think according to real-time occurrences and actions and et cetera, right? But the only problem with that is no one's really dealing with reality. No one's tackling the real tough problems in reality. No one has real-time plans, real-time goals for reality. That's the problem. It's not that the problem is too big for everybody to solve. It's that no one has real-time solutions and real-time answers, real-time plans and goals and visions. I mean, anything could be done. Anything could get better. But if you don't have any solutions, man, you're just sitting dreaming, which means you're not a realist, which means you don't really have a real grip on reality. And you have to ask your government, how do they have a grip on reality when they're marrying children in 44 states? But yet, you have not come up with a plan for the majority of the community to be employed at one time. But yet, you got time to marry children, though. But you don't have any plans for all of us to be employed with options, with more than one option. Well, you're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. You would think that an American would have more than one option as far as employment. But the real reality is, that's how you know I'm a realist, because I'm always talking about reality. The real reality is that all of you cannot be employed at one time. Which means it's not even real for when they talk about everybody working. That's a 7. Well, if everybody can't be employed, it ain't real when you talk about everybody working. You should have knew that was coming. Well, they talking about everybody working, but it ain't real because everybody can't work at the same time. So if all the homeless people, all the people that yell out their window, all the people that they yell out their window at, all the people that they yell out their window at, saying get a job, all the homeless people and unemployed people cannot work at one time. So what are we doing? That's my question. What are we really, really, really doing? So then I guess what it comes down to the have and the have-nots for real, right? When they don't even have enough jobs for everybody to be employed, how can you sit up and judge somebody that's not working? Well, if all of us were working, if all of us had the mind to be working, it still wouldn't work being here in America, the greatest country in the world. You know what they should have been working on? Instead of the military, instead of everything else, employing everyone. Because, I mean, with all this money, all this power, you mean to tell me you can't employ everybody at one time? I think you got your priorities out of whack. That's what it is. You have your priorities out of order when you building here, building there, military getting built up everywhere, right? But you can't even employ literally every American citizen at one time. Now you can sit here and act like you had a revelation of this. You can sit here and act like you came to the same epiphany as I did, and you know you didn't. You ain't never thought about it. Can everybody be employed at one time? Have you ever thought about it? It's not enough jobs. So I have to stress this point until you get it. So then it's an illusion that everybody can be working. Maybe you and I could be working, but not everybody. But not everybody though. And like I said in my video, if you want to go look up, you got to go through deep in my videos to find the video. But I'm going to do another video just to keep it up to date. I'm going to do an update on it. Because I know I can, God give me more revelation on it. God give me more, give me a broader perspective, a deeper perspective on it. I'm going to do another video on it. But It's like musical chairs. Okay? You're employed for a while, you lose your job, somebody take your job. You know, musical chairs is when the music stops, only one person gets the chair, right? Only one person gets to sit down. That's how it is with this workforce in America. You've heard no one say this. That's what I'm trying to show you. You have not heard this. So therefore, listen, I need you to adjust your ears. I need you to really listen. No, all the American citizens cannot work at one time. So a smart man like me, I feel like it's a lost cause. What do you tell the people to do that's not working? What do you tell them to do? Huh? What do you tell them to do meanwhile? Stay on the streets? Well, there ain't enough jobs. You just gotta thug it out on the streets. Like I say, you gotta thug it out on the streets. Huh? I gotta thug it out on the streets because there ain't enough jobs in America. Wow. But yet you have individuals in this country, conservatives, who act like everybody don't want to work. Well, here's the problem with that. For all you conservatives, whether you be Democratic or Republican, here's the problem with that. You haven't thought to yourself, gee, can everybody work at one time in America? And the answer is no. So what is everybody doing meanwhile? The Bible does say the poor will always be among you. That's what the Bible says. But we're not clear on the unemployed, because you can be unemployed and poor. I mean, you can be employed and poor. Okay? But it's such a big number that cannot work. Right? And then, here's the other thing. Even beyond that, there's different things that would disqualify you. Let's just say you don't have the bubbly personality to work at a bagel shop. You don't have that personality that they're looking for. And let's say you live in a pretty decent city, right? But here's the thing. That's the only shop. It's very convenient for you. You need that job. You need that job, right? But you couldn't get it. And now you got to go way across a highway and everything in some other place to get another job way somewhere else. And you could have easily got that job, but you didn't get the job. You know why? Because you didn't fit into the social aspect of the job. You didn't fit into the behavioral part of the job. You didn't even fit into the age bracket. Maybe you're too old. They got a whole bunch of little 20-year-olds around there, and you're 53. They don't want you working there. It looks weird. And you don't have the personality. They don't think you do. So guess what? Not only are there not enough jobs, you still have people who are unemployed because they don't fit into the social aspect of the job. See, these are the things that your politicians do not address. Okay, you got the job part, but you need to address how the employees how the employers are, and the employees are, and the social aspect of the job force, the job environment. Because some people don't get hired just because they didn't have a bubbly enough of a personality. Maybe they were too skinny. They looked like maybe they couldn't carry the pans at the job. Maybe they were too heavy. They felt they couldn't move around quick enough for this job. All these things. And then, even if we get past that smell test, everybody still can't be employed. You see where we at? But they build it for everything else. They sending trillions of dollars to Ukraine. They sending, millions, however you want to put it. At least it's definitely millions. All right. They doing all of this, but then yet everyone cannot be employed in America. That's the first thing you should have established in the greatest country in the world. If you want to work, you can work. Everybody, not just the jocks, the alpha males, the cocky people, the football stars. Nah, even the reclusive people who don't want to deal with nobody. They can go and work a job without being judged. What if you got a scar in your face and you want to work at a pizza shop? You can't even work there because they think the scar looks too disgusting. It doesn't fit dealing with food, I guess you could say. No one wants to see a person with a scar on their face while they're getting food, right? So you can't work there because you got a scar in your face. See what I'm saying? It's so many things that will weed you out, let alone all of us can't work at the same time. Even if we could, there's social aspects of the job or jobs that will keep some people unemployed. So we need a more sophisticated workforce and perspective concerning it. More sophisticated. It's not as sophisticated as you may think when everybody literally can't work at one time. So back to, I needed to say that, but back to